Hi, I'm Martin Creaner, and today I'd like to talk to you a bit about the digital transformation of the telco and some of the things that are driving that transformation across the various industry challenges. My name, as I said, is Martin Creaner, and I've been with the industry a long time, working in all different aspects of the telco industry, from most recently as President and CEO of the TM Forum, but also working in telcos such as BT and suppliers such as Motorola. And I also work a lot with the emerging digital economy so that I can understand some of the changes that are happening within the broader digital economy and how they may impact on the future of the telco industry. And I also have written a number of books in this area. Most recent book is around the digital transformation challenge of the telco, called Transforming the Telco. And at the center of that book is this concept that digital transformation is complex. And when I say complex, I think about it in terms of 10 distinct journeys that the telco needs to progress through in order to achieve digital transformation. I grouped them into sort of 4 groups. There's a set of journeys around a whole area of technology, such as the shift of the infrastructure from proprietary infrastructure to an infrastructure that is around more autonomously managed virtualized infrastructure. But there's also a shift around how we think about security. We need to transform as companies how we think about data, and also how we open ourselves up through APIs to other industries and other partners. There's a set of transformation journeys around digital services, and you'll hear a lot of discussion around the new types of services that are emerging. But also, we're increasingly hearing discussion around how telcos can engage with ecosystems and better work out how to use those ecosystems to enable them to get into other vertical industries and offer services in those industries. There's a set of journeys that I call the operations journeys, and these are really around the challenge of how do you change how the company runs, how do you change the culture and skills and organizational structure, and then very importantly, how do you change the business models that we use to go to market. And then finally, there's a set of journeys around the whole area of customer experience and customer engagement. And that splits into 2 aspects. One is how do we engage with our own customers? And secondly, how do we engage with the new channels to market that we are all beginning to work with in order to sell services that go beyond the traditional connectivity offerings? And as an industry, we're progressing reasonably well on digital transformation. I've been developing, keeping a scorecard in digital transformation over the last sort of 18 months or so, and looking at which journeys are we progressing well on and which ones are we progressing poorly on. We're certainly progressing well in the whole customer engagement aspect. We're progressing pretty well on the aspect of the virtualized economy and the virtualized autonomously managed infrastructure. And there's some other areas where we're going pretty well. I think there's a lot of progress in terms of new digital services. However, there's other areas that we're progressing very poorly on, such as offering new business models, and our ability to shift and change into brand new business models has been quite poor. So I tend to view it as a mixed bag, some good areas and some areas that need a lot more work. And the drivers for digital transformation are really, it's not just the latest fad. These are driven by solid and difficult financial challenges that the telco is facing. And I pick on 3 key points that I often talk about here in this box in the top left-hand side of this chart, where I talk about the total shareholder return over the last 5 years for the telco industry has really been lagging other industries. And Bain did a study of the progress of the telco during the pandemic and the sort of returns that shareholders were getting. Even though we were hugely dependent on the telco industry, what we found was telcos weren't getting a great financial return compared to, say, the semiconductor and electronics industry, the media industry, technology industries in general. And the investors tend to be relatively agnostic as to whether they're investing in telco or investing in something else. And when they see this sort of discrepancy between the type of return they can get in some industries versus the return they can get in the telco industry, it does make them think about whether to continue investing in telco or to shift money out. Similarly, they're seeing the return on invested capital. The chart on the right there, McKinsey has produced a very good analysis of the return on invested capital versus the cost of that capital. And it used to be that, for every dollar you invested as capital in the telco industry, you were getting about $6 return. That's now dropped down to you're getting no better than $1 return for the dollar invested. And that's quite a worrying aspect for the investors as well. And then finally, we're seeing this as a factor which is changing the behavior of investors. So we're seeing the dividend yield is rising in the telco industry. Back around 2007, it was on average about 3%, and about 10 years later, it had risen up to an average of about 7%, and even higher in some companies. And dividend yield is essentially investors taking the money out of the company rather than leaving it there to reinvest. So there's lots of financial challenges that are threatening the future, I think, of the telco industry. And that's why digital transformation is one of the key aspects that we need to look at. And there's been a lot of studies in my most recent book. I did a lot of analysis of where the upside for digital transformation would really sit. And that's kind of split between opportunities to reduce the cost and improve the efficiency and agility, and also opportunities to grow revenue. And in general, the analysis has been done by the World Economic Forum and other areas tends to show that digital transformation could potentially offer about a $1.6 trillion upside. So there's opportunities there and there's plenty of challenges. And one of the aspects that I'm beginning to see with digital transformation is the emergence of a new era of connectivity. The issues that we're beginning to see with telcos, if you go back over the last decade, we've looked a lot at the opportunity around new services and the opportunities of virtualization and so on. But over the last couple of years, focus has shifted very strongly back now towards connectivity and the opportunities that surround connectivity and how that is changing. And I split this into two aspects: an enhanced connectivity opportunity and a beyond connectivity opportunity. And enhanced connectivity is really about evolving connectivity from being a commodity to being a differentiated service. And beyond connectivity is really about generating new revenue streams outside of traditional connectivity. And the more beyond connectivity services you offer, it drives a better understanding of how to enhance your connectivity. And similarly, as your connectivity offering becomes more sophisticated, you can offer much more attractive beyond connectivity services. And both of these will feed into sustainability. And this is the month of COP26, and sustainability is an issue that has shifted from being a nice to have in the telco industry to being a dominant issue. When I talk, I'll just say a little bit more about reinventing basic connectivity as a differentiated service, because the telco connectivity is designed generally to meet the lowest common denominator requirements, and the value has become quite obscured. So enhanced connectivity is really all about increasing the value of connectivity services. And we will do that really by the whole area of delivering connectivity in a cloud-like elastic fashion, offering differentiated capabilities, differentiated by security or latency or bandwidth, a shift to dynamic pricing and business models. So we're selling, rather than just a one price fits all in connectivity, we're selling it based on how urgent the demand is, similar to how Uber works or how Airbnb works. And similarly, we're looking at on-demand connectivity, so people can ramp things up and switch them off as and when they need them. And then we also need to create some sort of seamless global connectivity one-stop shop. When we're looking beyond connectivity, telcos are rising to the challenge of supporting new multiple business and consumer services. And those split between B2C and B2B. In the B2C world, we're seeing things like the emergence of the importance of gaming or home sport, or of course entertainment services and streaming services. In the B2B world, we're seeing the rapid growth of the importance of smart manufacturing, smart health, and smart agriculture, and connected car, and so on. And then there's also a kind of an intersection point between B2C and B2B around areas like smart stadiums and AR/VR, where they have B2B opportunities surrounding them as well as B2C. And of course, to be successful in these new services, one of the essential things you need to understand is ecosystems. You need to understand what is and what isn't an ecosystem, how do they work, and which ones should I engage with, or which ones do I need to join, or even which ones do I need to create. And there's been a lot of really good work done in London Business School on this area, looking at both the definition of ecosystems themselves and how to identify what type of ecosystem you're going to get involved with, but also then understanding a methodology for how to map your own engagement with ecosystems. And the model on the right-hand side brings you through a process of understanding the competitive environment, understanding which areas you really want to invest in, identifying which partners you want to work with, and building up a governance model for how you will work with those partners and how you will share the value that's generated. Work there. The whole area of platforms is becoming increasingly important. Industry-specific platforms are beginning to emerge. If you think about how platform business models have dominated the B2C world over the last decade, with Apple and Google and Facebook and so on, there's a general belief that the platforms will also play a hugely important role in the B2B world. And the question of who will dominate those platforms is still an open question. Will it be dominated by the likes of Google and Amazon and Microsoft Azure, or will the vertical industries control their own platforms? And that is an open question, but my belief is that the vertical industries are putting a lot of effort into this. And wherever the vertical industry platforms go, communication is going to become a really important part of it. So telcos need to establish a secure value-added connectivity position in these platforms, not just as a commodity, but as a sophisticated connectivity offering, and then layer on top of it a number of beyond connectivity capabilities. So as we progress into this world where beyond connectivity is important, and as well as enhanced connectivity, what we tend to find is that all of the arguments and all the discussions come back to some aspect of sustainability and the importance of sustainability. The telco industry is driving a very big level of CO2 emissions across the globe, but 2.6% of global CO2 emissions are associated with the telco industry, the supply side and the telcos themselves. And similarly, the industry is a major contributor to 40 million tons of waste electronics per annum, 80% of which end up in landfill. But the telco industry has been working on a lot of specific areas in order to help this as well, both in terms of what I just talked about in B2B, in how the telco industry is helping change and digitally transform other industries, and that is driving a sustainability benefit in those industries. But also specific actions that it's doing in order to enhance its own CO2 emissions and its own power consumption and its own levels of waste. And BCG has produced a very interesting sustainability index that I'd encourage you to look at, because it's trying to track how telcos are genuinely progressing on sustainability, and that looks at it across four aspects of commitment. Is the pay of the CEO related closely to achieving certain sustainability goals? The energy consumptions of the telco, the circular economy engagement of the telco in terms of recycling of batteries and reuse of plastics and so on, and also customer enablement in terms of how is it driving the digital transformation of other industries. So that was a rapid run through a number of the key issues of the telco and how it's facing today. In summary, I think digital transformation is embracing multiple journeys that all need to be considered as part of a single strategy. Some are moving faster, some are moving slower. New era connectivity strategy is emerging across many different telcos with slightly different words in different companies, but ultimately it is all a push to try and increase the value of connectivity and how it is offered to the customer. And sustainability is playing a very important role in that. And then finally, platforms and ecosystems, you're going to hear a lot more about them over the coming months and years. Thank you.